Hello, this is Dan of Life at Lean, and in this video we're going to be talking about some of the upgrades you should make to a bike ready for a life on the track. Now, when talking about modern motorcycles, I'm sure most would agree that in standard form alone, they're plenty capable enough of handling anything that you can throw at it out on the road. Now, even for a track bike, you could argue that these upgrades aren't really needed, but given that most of these are relatively inexpensive, I would say that they are great first steps for a life on the track. So here's a look at my top 6 track day upgrades. First up, braided brake lines. The rubber hoses that you find on stock motorcycles will stretch and deteriorate over time and also expand under high pressure. Now, braided brake lines don't share these traits, meaning they'll give you a lot more consistent performance and feel and also reduce the chance of any brake fade. Now, for riders looking to get more into track days, this will be one of the first additions that they make to their bikes, and rightly so. Next up, track or race brake pads. Now, buying race or track bias pads is a surefire way to immediately improve the performance of your braking system. Now, this will be in the way of better bite, but also outright stopping power, and also how they handle brake fade. Now, what most people tend to go for initially is race sintered pads. Now, what these are is pads with little metal particles in them that help improve friction characteristics, but also help the pad dissipate heat. What this means is that this type of pad will help stave off brake fade. As a side note, some manufacturers do actually employ sintering already, and if they do, you can just continue throwing the OEM pads in if that's what you're doing already. Changing the gear ratios. Shortening your bike's gearing is the quickest and most inexpensive way to considerably improve the bike's acceleration. Now, it will mean sacrificing some outright speed, but given that standard road gearing will be too long for most tracks anyway, you won't really miss that top end speed. A popular first gearing change for the track is to go 1 tooth down on the front sprocket and 2 up on the rear sprocket. Now, as a side note, you'll likely need to get a new chain, mainly because your old one probably won't be long enough, but if you're getting new sprockets, then it's a good idea not to pair it with an old worn out chain. Getting the suspension set up for you. Getting your bike set up for your weight and riding style is one of the most beneficial changes you can make to the bike early on. It can also be done for relatively low cost or zero cost if you're willing to put in the time to learn what needs to be done. A fairly simple suspension change that you can get done to set yourself up for future changes is to set the proper laden sag. Laden sag is the amount the suspension compresses when you sit on the bike yourself. Making sure you have the correct sag set for your weight means that the suspension is going to be working in its more compliant range, which ultimately translates into being better able to deal with whatever you throw at it out on the track, and therefore better traction. In truth though, even though suspension isn't as dark an art as you might think, most people tend to look to the services that are available on any given track day. Those guys will be able to give you a full suspension setup for a fairly reasonable fee, saving you a ton of time and guesswork when you're trying to find the right setting for you. Having a bike that feels great underneath you is going to mean you feel better on track and you're more confident to push past limits. And as an added bonus, it also improves tyre life too. Getting more track biased tyres. Tyre technology has come on such a long way in recent years, and having more track bias tyres underneath the bike is going to mean more grip for you to explore those limits, but also to give you more confidence as you push past them. Now, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy the stickiest, most expensive rubber you can find, but just having something that has track days in mind is going to give you oodles more grip and therefore confidence, and also give you a bigger safety margin too. Lastly, rear sets. The adjustability of aftermarket rear sets will allow you to fine-tune your lower body's position on the bike so you can more comfortably and firmly anchor yourself onto your machine. Now, while they may not be seen as a necessity to some riders, being comfortable should be. So if you feel that your lower body isn't quite right, then using rear sets to tweak it is a great way to get that right position, so once again you can anchor yourself firmly onto the bike. And that about wraps up our look at the top 6 upgrades. Now, it should be obvious that you really don't need to spend thousands in order to get the bike ready for the track. Like I said up top, in truth, it's already ready for the track, but these are relatively inexpensive upgrades that you can make early to see early improvements. If you feel there's any upgrades that I missed that you think deserve a mention, then feel free to chuck them in the comments down below. And if you like the video, hit the button, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.